Welcome to the Digital Chair by Salon Monster, the podcast for indie beauty pros and salon owners who'd rather be themselves than follow the rules. I'm your host, Liam, and this week we'll be talking with Tara Abramowicz, the creator of the Chatter Chill Card, salon inclusivity advocate, and hairstylist and educator. We discuss doing hair for neurodivergent folks, sensory-safe services, and consent-based appointments.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tara, for joining me. I wanted to just start off by asking you a little bit about your history in this industry. How did you get your start? How long have you been doing it, etc.?
I've been doing hair for about 20 years now, which is so funny to think of. It's like I remember being the baby stylist and there was like the veteran stylist, and I was like, I'm just a kid in the house. And now I'm the veteran stylist. And I started out by literally just doing my friend's hair at my house. And um, my stepmom was like, do you just want to do this? I was like, I don't know, I guess. So I literally went to hair school, like not interested really in doing hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came out and I went to my first hair show within like probably 3 months of graduating. And I was like, no, I need to be like these people. Like these people have it figured out. So I immediately wanted to be an educator right off the bat.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. I wish I'd wanted to be an educator right off the bat. I didn't understand how to educate because I saw a limited amount of it that was going well for myself. But I know what you mean. I've been in the industry for now 25 years, which feels really strange. I still kind of feel like I'm the baby in the room sometimes until
Same.
people start telling me that language that I'm using doesn't mean what it used to mean and things like that.
Mm.
So,
And you're like, oh, I
yeah,
guess I'm not a kid in the house.
yeah, yes. Yeah, I got called out a lot this past weekend when I was staying with a group of people in New Orleans for a show. They just kept saying, oh, that doesn't mean that anymore. It means this. Well, okay, fine. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so you've been doing hair for 20 years. Um, Neurodiversity
Hmm.
and neurodivergence. At what point um, were you aware that you were on some level? Are you on some level neurodivergent?
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
autistic.
Yep.
And I have pretty severe ADHD. So
Yep.
I would say at the point that I learned was actually pretty recent. It was within the past 6 years. And there was a lot of signs. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I remember my first salon I was at, trying to explain a haircut to somebody, being like, okay, so you just have to like picture like the blueprint, you know what I mean? Like the blueprint above their head, and then like how it would look like is this.
Yes.
And literally, I'm like explaining this to the salon, and they're like staring at me, and they were like, "You picture haircuts like a
Yes.
blueprint?" And I was like, "Yeah, like a hologram right above the client." And they're like, "We don't do that." And so there were signs.
Yes. I
There were
love that.
signs.
I love that. That's amazing. Yes, I know. I know.
Yeah.
I remember the first time. I'm like, wait, you mean you don't have a voice that's constantly telling you a story as long as you're awake? Oh, hmm, that's strange.
And you're like,
Thought,
that must be crazy.
yeah. Hmm, okay, good to know.
So,
That's really interesting. Um,
mm,
it can be hard to spot in this industry sometimes because I think there can be sometimes it feels like there's a higher percentage of people, certainly on
mm,
the ADHD side of things, probably not on the
yeah,
ASD autism side of things.
yeah.
And then they have crossovers, it feels like.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossovers. I think the things that for me that did make it a little difficult in our industry, specifically being autistic, was things that like I didn't even necessarily realize. Like I thought I was just being super type A or super like no, I don't like that. And people would kind of get put off because, like let's say the receptionist would come over to say, "Hey, just so you know, your next client is here." And I'd be like, "Don't approach me. Don't approach me when I'm not expecting you. Just like give me like a sign with your eyes." And I started to realize that, like, now, if I approach things in the way of accommodations and I say something like, hey, like, just so you know, I don't really like to be approached specifically from behind. So if you can just make yourself seen by me, I'll look at you and I'll know what you're trying to tell me. Like, I'll guess that my client's here because I know what time it is and I know that they're coming. And now I require accommodations versus coming off as like, don't touch me, don't come up to me. don't make any loud sounds, things like that. So,
Yeah. That's awesome that you say now you require accommodations. It almost feels more like, though, that you're able to advocate for yourself in
yeah.
in a way that's going to be easier for you and easier for people around you as well.
Well, that's exactly it, right? Because it's while my disability isn't always easy for me, I also can recognize that it can not be the norm for other people to experience. So like, I remember having to like coach team members and tell my face what to look like so that they
Hmm.
knew I was trying to be kind. And it's like, gosh, if I could just say to somebody, hey, you know what? I would love if you just listened to my words because sometimes my face tells a different story. And say this ahead of the game so that they like maybe won't be as offended or maybe don't be like, oh gosh, is Tara mad at me or what's going on here? And then now we have this so much more open and loving relationship as like a work colleagues that we could just be like, hey, cool, what's going on? Because it kind of sets I don't know, it sets the game play, for us as coworkers.
Yeah. Do you ever find it's cultural to a degree as well? Just in that we both kind of grew up in cultures that maybe don't always say what they mean on the
Mhm.
outside. Like there's a little bit of politeness attached to things. So people tend to, if you just state what you need or how you feel, people might take offense to it because usually it's wrapped in candy and coating.
I think it can be cultural. I think, being somebody who does a lot of traveling, I love going all over the world. And I will say that there are different cultures that do tend to be a little bit more blunt. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
know personally, like in the Netherlands, they'll just be like, oh, well, I don't really like that movie. And the
Yes.
person would be like, I do like that movie. I don't care for your opinion. And it's like
Yeah.
not a necessarily rude thing. I think it can be cultural. However, that said, I may stick out in different ways in those cultures, not necessarily just the way I'm speaking, just like
Definitely.
any other person might, right? So,
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
mhm.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. I know with my ADHD, um, advocating for myself made my life much easier. That might be the easiest thing. Um, for myself, I think I was really effective at masking from a really young age,
Mhm.
which,
Yeah.
is it good? Is it bad? We probably all recognize it's easier or it's
Mhm.
simpler sometimes being able to mask early on, rather than sort of the longer process of having to memorize what things mean. What does that mean? Okay, cool. I'll add that into my toolbox of remembering what that facial expression means. Um,
Right.
do you do a lot of hair for folks who are autistic?
Yeah, I've opened up my chair to, and I don't want to say I've opened up like it's this new thing. All
No.
along, I've seen lots of disabled folks, but I've made it very known and very clear that I'm a safe space for all people.
Hmm.
I don't care where you're at in the world. I want to see you if you need your hair done. Which does include a lot of autistic folks. It does include some people that maybe are just intellectually disabled and don't necessarily like label themselves within the spectrum. Maybe they have a different type of disability. And so with that, I really do make sure that I ask people if they require any accommodations. I ask every person that. It's not just
Yes.
like, do I think this person needs it? I just ask everybody, is there any part of the service you don't like? There's like this whole thing about doing hair where everybody's like, oh, everybody likes the favorite part everybody has is being shampooed.
No.
And if I could tell you that probably 50% of my clientele don't like to be in the sink. They don't like their hair washed. And so I ask people, do you like being washed before I wash their hair?
Yeah.
And I think that if I could teach any stylist anything, it's before you bring somebody to the sink, say, do you enjoy a shampoo?
Yeah.
It's that simple
Yeah.
because whether or not somebody's on the spectrum, they might not like getting water in their ears. They might not so it's just a good habit to ask. But I work with a lot of autistic folks and we make accommodations based person per person, whatever they
Yeah.
need.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree more. I I do lots of kids' hair, and
Mm,
I, you know, after a few years of consistently doing it, everybody else seemed bothered by doing kids' hair. It didn't really. I found it
not
helpful.
weird.
They always say what they
Yeah,
mean and want and like. Like I find it much easier if
yeah,
you just tell me if you liked it or not. I can work with that.
right.
If you just never come
Yeah,
back, I'm gonna wonder. I don't know. Um, and
right.
in the end, I ended up having several autistic kids, and again, I
Hmm.
found it really not that complex.
Yeah,
For myself, I just sort of went where they are. Like
yeah.
they'll let you know. I mean, if you just ask if someone likes being touched or not, or if you can
Mm,
touch them or not, it makes such a huge difference. Consent in general. Um, and then,
hmm.
of course, I'm sure it's the same for you. I found once I started successfully doing hair for kids in general and autistic kids in particular,
Hmm.
everybody starts showing up as soon as the word gets out that you don't make them cry. And I found parents actually might be the
Yeah.
most difficult part about dealing with
Oh my
kids who
God.
are autistic.
Yes.
It was actually
Yes.
like, so what we're going to do today is just get through an appointment that isn't awful for them. I don't really care what the result. We
Hmm.
can not cut their hair. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Eventually, they'll be fine. But you're projecting
This,
your expectations of what you needed to be, which must be incredibly difficult. Um,
yeah. I'll say, like, as a parent of an autistic child, too, it is definitely something where you find yourself in this constant state of hypervigilance. Like, how
yeah,
is this going to go? I don't know what's going to happen here. And so it's funny because I also cut a lot of autistic small children's hair, some of them speaking, some of them non-speaking. And what ends up happening sometimes is I have to actually kind of ask the parents to stay back a little. And it's just because if you can imagine any person, if we had three heads hovering over you, you'd be like, okay, so what is
yeah,
happening? It's a little bit more stressful for the individual in the chair a lot of times. So just really having these boundaries and then explaining to them that, like, I get it, whatever happens, happens. Much like you said, like if they get a haircut, they get a haircut. I have quite a few clients that come in and we'll do half of a haircut because that's all that child can tolerate. And then they'll come back in 4 or 5 days. But we try to get as much as we can done. And I will never, ever have a non-consenting screaming child be held down while I'm cutting their hair. It's just not going to happen. Like I disagree with it fundamentally.
100%. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I think that's how I ended up accidentally specializing in it to a degree. I feel weird saying that.
Yeah.
It's just a haircut. I mean,
No, but it
not
is a
wanting people to
specialty because
cry.
you need to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, no, you're right. But like, it seems to me not wanting the person in your chair to howl and cry out loud shouldn't really be a specific. I feel like that should be one of the
Truly.
primary goals in general. But yes,
Yeah.
and I also find like I've had some kids. I'm sure it's the same for you, who it took
Mhm.
2 or 3 years before they'd sit in the chair by themselves and just let me cut
Yes.
hair or use clippers or anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, and it
Absolutely.
is the best when that person's comfortable. That to me is the biggest win
Yes.
on the planet Earth. Is if that person just walks in and sits down in the chair and you start cutting and it's totally normal, that feels like a huge win to me. It might just be my ego. I don't know.
And I mean, no, but it's true though. And it's a win because, it's a win for that person to be
Yes.
able to experience something that's also going to help them hygienically. At the end of the day, like, do we have to have haircuts? In some cases, no. Some people could, so long as they're keeping the hair clean and they're healthy and everything, great. You don't necessarily need a haircut, but there are people who struggle with their own hygiene. They struggle maybe washing their hair, and shorter hair makes more sense. So it's like to have them be able to not only be safe hygienically, but also to feel good and look good and have that opportunity is huge. And I know for a fact that while it feels really good to you, and I know you said like maybe it's my ego. No, it's not. You literally helped a person. And then also those parents, those caretakers, whoever works with that person saw that too, likely. And were like, oh my goodness, this took years. And now the person can sit in this chair. This is like wild. And they probably felt so great. So I
It's
commend you for that because it is a real thing that happens.
it's just yeah. I find kids and particularly autistic kids. It's just I don't know. It's one of the biggest
It's
rewards that
rewarding.
exists. It's just amazing.
Yes,
Um,
it's true.
so your cape, how did that come about? Your weighted cape.
Well, so what I want to say is I'm an ambassador for a company called the Weighted Cape.
Oh, you're an
So
ambassador
the
for it.
Weighted
My
Cape,
apologies.
I'm an ambassador for him. That's okay. So the owner, the creator, the inventor, his name is Henry and he's a barber and he is just absolutely amazing. I would say look up, the Weighted Cape. If you're watching this, it's at the Weighted Cape. And like I was going to L'Oreal to do like a filming for we call it diversibility, and actually we're about to do another filming.
Mm,
But as I was going, I came across Henry's invention. It just happened to be in my For You page, and I immediately reached out to him and I was like, "Do you understand what a big deal this is for the autistic community?" And he was like, "What? Tell me more." And through this really amazing like connection on social media, I was able to be like, no, this is huge for the autistic community. And now it's something that, he became sensory safe certified and like all this stuff. And now he's a huge ally to the community. And I'm like, we're like this. So um anywhere I go and I'm talking about, teaching about servicing disabled people and advocating for the disability community, I talk about the weighted cape because this is a life-changing product for so many people. And just the fact that you could literally just like put a cape and make somebody feel more comfortable. I was cracking up because I went to the dentist yesterday and they put the lead thing on me. And I
mm-hmm,
was like, man,
mm-hmm.
why didn't I bring my weighted cape? Why didn't I bring it? Because it's like I could have been so much more comfortable getting my cavity filled. So, um, gosh, I just think it's such a great tool. And I'm really excited to be partnered with Henry on that. And like really all it was me reaching out saying, I want to tell people about your product. And he like welcomed me with open arms and said like, let's do this.
That's
So
amazing.
I'm really
Just
thankful.
just reaching out to people is it's one of the main things I tell new stylists in the industry when they're like, "What do I do? How do I find a mentor? What do I do next?" And I just message people, just reach out. People are people. Most people like to be asked about what they're good at.
Yeah. And like, so for me with my business with the Chatter Chill card, it
Yeah.
was something that just it was actually right around 2020 that when people it was right around the time I discovered I was autistic. It was when I don't know, I had a lot of clients that wanted to talk, didn't want to talk, were anxious coming to the salon. And for me it was all about inclusivity tool as well. Just like the weighted cape is an inclusivity tool, the Chatter Chill card is as well, because when I had it printed, it was like my prototype. It was just a little plastic card. And I realized that doesn't help somebody if they need to touch it and so then I ended up quitting that and getting an embossed metal card so that somebody could feel it and know that there's a texture and make out the words if they were having trouble, as well as my font and my spacing being accessible for reading devices as well. So
Amazing.
it was really important to me to make that accessible for people to just decide if they want to talk or not, chat or chill in the salon. And I'm really proud to say it's taken off quite a bit. And I'm still pushing it. I'm still making that happen. So
How do
any way
people
we can
find
make
that? How do
people
people
feel
get it?
comfortable. So thank you. They can get it at clientexperiencecard.com. So that's my website.
Okay.
And there's all different types. So like, some people don't have like a mirror. Um, with like a shelf. Maybe they just only have a mirror. I have a mirror version with a suction cup. I've got like ones that sit on a shelf. I got fancy ones. I have ones that are a little bit more like lowbrow and kind of just chill if we want it more understated. So I have, I think, 5 different models. So
Amazing. I love it.
thank you.
Um, okay, so I'm a new hairstylist. I'm just getting out of hair school. I'm just
Mhm.
starting, and I want to know. I'm trying to grow my career, but I want to include everyone. Um, what
Mhm.
piece of advice would you give a new stylist?
I think the piece of advice I would give a new stylist is never take any information as the only information you'll receive on that topic. And it's like if you go to as much education as you can, first of all, but if you've heard this is the only way to shampoo somebody, put that in the back of your mind and say to yourself, okay, I've taught that this is the way that we shampoo. However, there are some other ways that individuals may prefer to be shampooed. So there are many ways to do each thing that we do and be open to learning and hearing from everybody, whether they're a veteran stylist or a brand new stylist. Listen to everybody you can so that you can get as much information as possible, including the clients, frankly.
Yeah, love it. Do you
Thank you.
do you have people fill anything out before they come to see you? Do you have a questionnaire of any sort, or do you tend to do more of that in person?
I have really strong feelings about this, and it's funny because so many people are like, do the forms. And I'm not against a form. I think it's great in any way to ask about accommodations for people. However, as somebody who's autistic, as somebody who has a lot of challenges with filling out forms can be a barrier for a lot of people. The second I open up a page and see a form, I go, can't do it. My brain says no, thank you. And then that's it. And I'll never go. Whereas if somebody said, I have a question for you, uh, do you have anything at the salon that makes you uncomfortable? I'd
Right.
be like, well, wait, now I'm thinking about it, So I usually open up the conversation whenever I have a new client come to see me. I'll just open up the conversation like, hey, so talk to me about coming to the salon. Do you have any accessibility accommodations you require? That's kind of like a buzzword, of course. Like accessibility is all about disability and making sure, like, let's say somebody needs to know if there's a ramp or not. Um, and maybe somebody who doesn't like their hair shampooed wouldn't necessarily think, no, I don't have accessibility accommodations, right? So if they say no, I say, okay, great. There are some things that I do at the salon that I just want to be sure these are things that you love.
Right.
I will do a lot of like shampooing and aromatherapy work. Do you like scents? And they might be like, oh, you know what? I actually have sensitive skin. Okay, excellent. I'm going to write that down. You have sensitive skin. And I just talk to them about it because, you know, it's kind of just like, oh, this is just normal. We're just chatting. And then if they're like, no, no, I just normal, they'll be like, no, 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 no. I love coming to salon. Then I just let it be shut down. They want to shut it down. I'm going to shut it down. Um, and then you can usually tell when somebody's like, well, wait, yes. I'm like, cool, cool. Let's talk about that more, So
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty cool to just see what happens when you ask the questions.
Yes.
Now, I love that people are doing forms. I love it, but not everybody has a caretaker to fill
Yeah.
out the forms for them. So I just like to put that as food for thought for people who use their forms. That when they have individuals reach out to them, maybe even have a slot like, are forms too much for you? Click here.
Yes.
And
Skip
boom,
it.
now we have an
Yes.
option. Exactly.
It can also feel like being at the doctor sometimes when you're handed the clipboard with 300 pages of
Hmm.
stuff I'm supposed to fill out about my medical history. And well, maybe I just want to come in and chat about it. And
Right.
we can talk about
And
how I
it's like
feel while I'm there.
yeah, like if it's a digital form, I'm slightly better. But if anybody handed me a piece of
Oof.
paper, I also have a writing disability. I physically can't write. I'll be there for 45 minutes trying to like fill out one piece of paper.
Yes.
So it's just not going to happen. So I would probably get up and leave embarrassed. So just keep in mind that those people exist if you're somebody who does those things. And I agree with you. It's like forms are great, they're important, but they can be like, to your point, a little informal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
or sorry, not informal, formal, too formal.
Too formal. Yeah.
That's the wrong word. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And salons can be, this is something separate from what we're talking about specifically. I remember really early on, even before I started working in salons, somebody for a birthday present got me a haircut at the first like truly fancy hair salon I'd been in, and I was so uncomfortable being in there. It felt like such a cool place that I wasn't supposed to be in. Just being in a salon felt uncomfortable, and no
Yeah,
one
yeah.
looked at me, and no one greeted me, and no one acknowledged me, and no one asked me
Mhm.
what I needed or how I felt. And I remember that feeling has sort of carried on with me for years, not just about making sure you're not chatting with your coworkers and not talking to the person who comes in the door,
Hmm.
but just that inherent discomfort of a place you're not used to being in for any
Yeah.
reason. And having someone who
Yeah.
sort of, you're in the right place, you're where you're supposed to be. Let's talk about what you need. What do you not need?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love it.
I kind of laugh because, I'll have clients in my chair, and part of this is for me. I'm going to be very honest. It's almost my own accommodation, and kind of even I don't know if it's me scripting. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't thought about it too much, but I walk people through every next step of their entire service throughout the entire service. So like I'll be combing their hair and say, okay, so now I'm going to work towards the front of your hair. As soon as I'm done with the front of your hair, I'm going to lower the chair and we're going to walk over to the sink and I'll start your shampoo.
Yeah,
And then as soon as I finish those front sections, I say, okay, so now I've finished those front sections. Well, I'm going to lower the chair and I'm going to bring you to the sink and I'm going to start the shampoo. And I literally keep talking them through each step as we're going through the entire process. Now, I have people who kind of are funny about it. They'll be like, okay, like that's fine. Like I'm pretty easygoing. And I'm like, I know. I said, I just have to tell you so I don't forget. And we make a joke about it.
yes,
But it might actually be true. I might forget otherwise. But the fact is that it's like for those people who need to know what comes next, who needs to know why, if they're comfortable in this space, now they go, okay, that's what comes next. I can calm down and maybe just enjoy the service.
yeah. Isn't there a term in parenting for that? Like sportscasting or newscasting? I remember like really early on, people would say, um, way before your kid can speak, verbally describe every step of what you're doing. Now we're going to take your diaper off. Now we're going to, and it helps
Yeah,
put a person at ease while helping someone understand what's happening around them. Um,
that's a really good point. I think it's like some type of narration, but I like the
yeah,
idea of like sportscasting.
yeah. I
It's
just
like
remember,
you're narrating what's going to happen.
yeah, and I mean, yeah, a bunch of people aren't going to care. But what's the worst that happens? You're describing what you're going to do. They'll be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They'll be all right.
yeah,
And truly, if they said you don't need to tell me it actually makes me uncomfortable, I'll be like, okay, I'll try not to, and
yeah.
that's it.
I
So
love it. Okay, one last question, and that's just sort of
yeah.
where can people find you? Where can people find? I know you told me the website to order the form, but I
Mhm.
think it's on Instagram as well. What's the best way for people to
Mhm.
find you and ask you questions?
I would say Instagram. I'm always open to DMs on Instagram. I love to help people. I'm also working on, I do have independent education that I work
Yeah,
to help people understand. And that would be my link tree on my bio on Instagram, that I just help people understand how to service disabled people in the industry. I also have a video coming out on L'Oreal Access. So there's a lot of places, but all of these videos, everything I've got, you can find in my link tree, in my bio on my Instagram. And I look forward to anybody DMing me with questions they have specifically related to disability in the industry. I'm happy to help. I love to help people.
love it. Thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. It was tons of fun.
Thank you,
Let's do it
Liam. I
again.
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks. We should absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right.